All right, wonderful. So we have a lot of content today, so we're going to jump right into it. And if you're going to be joining us after the live recording, you'll see that there's going to be a ton of information for us to go through. So Don and I will jump quickly into our introductions. As you can see, Don and I both work at Pure Cars. And I am the SEO and analytics lead. My background is in big enterprise custom solutions, working for large agencies, healthcare, CPG, now automotive, a little bit of e-com in there. And it's interesting to me how many of those different specialties are sort of coming together in the automotive industry today, a lot of the different trends. I'm also joined by my boss and head of product here at Pure Cars, Don.
Howdy, folks. Glad to join you today. Talk about local SEO, content SEO, all things SEO with Chris. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and type those in for us. As we see stuff, if there's something we can answer on the fly, we'll go ahead and try to do that for you. For the most part, we'll try to hold those to the end for questions and answers. And we're just going to jump right into it. If you have any problems hearing us, audio quality, things are cutting in and out, again, please let us know as we proceed through the presentation.
And we're going to talk quickly just through the 4 different disciplines of SEO. You've probably actually seen this referred to as 3, but we're going to break it out as 4 because we see local and map pack SEO just being such an emerging player in the SEO space. So we're going to run through these very quickly because, as you can see, 2 of the top, technical and offsite, we aren't going to talk specifically about this. This presentation is geared towards on-page, a la content, and also the local map pack, a la local SEO components. So with technical SEO, no one expects you or someone necessarily at your dealership to be an expert in this, right? This is going to be where you want to lean on your web providers, right? They should be, or if you have somebody else handling the hosting of your website, right? You want to work directly with them. And areas of optimization right now in 2019 are going to be things like schematic markup, XML mapping, controlling the resource load. Obviously you see this sometimes in the form of an image, right? Trying to load on your page, and it's so heavy and it's slowing down the website. And then finally, 301s, 404s, and canonicalization. Again, we're not asking you to be an expert. We don't expect you to, but you should have professional help in this regard. Now, off-page SEO, you're probably familiar with this most in its form of backlinking. However, right, again, in 2019, things like social signals are very big, co-citation, co-occurrences, and then, of course, your follow, no follow links coming off your backlinks are going to be, especially important. Now, when we move on to the on-page SEO piece, this is the content component, and this is what you are probably most familiar with when someone says to you SEO, right? This is something that you can touch, it's tangible, you understand it, right? Not much has really changed in the last couple of years, or maybe I should say, not much has changed how perhaps your vendors are talking to you about this content. And I want to just quickly say that Pure Cars does not have a vested interest in content, right? When we talk about SEO, when we talk about our product, right, Seat, which we are not going to go into today, but I should just be very transparent that content is not something that Pure Cars is directly involved in. Instead, we really see our place in the overall SEO mix as being one of consultation and recommendations when it comes to the content component. Now, finally, what we're going to be talking about today is the local SEO. You'll hear me refer to this as local pack or map pack, depending on the component of local SEO. But this most visibly presents itself in the form of Google My Business. It also will present itself in the form of a local pack, right? So that 3-pack, we're gonna walk through that here in a second, so you'll have a visual. And then finally, in the local finder, which is what you're probably most used to seeing, is Google Maps. So we'll walk through that here in a moment, but I should just add that Google My Business, right, for any automotive dealership right now, it is the #1 fastest growing, largest opportunity add the superlative in there as you want, but it is where you should be spending at least 50% of your SEO time and money.
So if you think about where you're spending time and money today, as Chris said, when we talk about SEO, oftentimes our conversations with our customers, even when we're bringing them opportunities for local SEO, are all about content. Well, what is your content SEO strategy? And again, if you think about perhaps what your content packages might look like today, perhaps you're spending $500 a month. That's on the very low side. Maybe it's $1,500 a month. And again, that's a package with your web provider, maybe another agency, or you may oftentimes hear folks say things like, if you weren't paying $3,500 a month or more for SEO, content SEO, then you're being bamboozled, right? You're being misled. And we want to make sure that it's very clear, as Chris said, is that that's one part of the equation. It's oftentimes been the heaviest traditional part of the equation, but things are changing so quickly. And there's such an opportunity right now to attract more phone calls, more shoppers, and really more traffic to your website for an investment that is really, for many dealers, hidden today. And it doesn't take that much. Now, this isn't the, let me go pay someone $50 a month or $500 a year and all my local SEO problems are solved. That is absolutely not the case. You need to work with someone who is an expert in local listings optimizations. But again, a dollar spent in local optimization SEO is worth, frankly, probably $3 or $4 spent in other areas around optimization. So a lot of what we talk to you today about will be local SEO. And as Chris shows you right there, it's at the center of a lot of what you're probably already doing. Maybe you have relationships with a local listings provider. Maybe you've already claimed and verified your GMB, right? Hopefully most of you have, or you're working with a reputation.com for reviews, or maybe Moz Local for citations. You got somebody on staff doing social posts, right? All these things are probably part of your strategy today, but you haven't really taken a holistic view towards what can I do additionally? What new things are happening? What changes are happening so fast that I might not be aware of them? And that's what we're going to bring to you today.
So let's set the table a little bit, right, before we get into the specifics. And I think it would be very helpful for everybody, right, to take a look back. We'll take about where we are today, and then, of course, we want to be forward-thinking, especially when we're talking about Google My Business and different aspects of SEO that are rapidly changing. So let's take a look quickly at the evolution of search. And what I've tried to capture on the left-hand side of the screen, and while it is not an exact copy, I'm trying to showcase what 2016, right, what the search results looked like back then. And of course, we don't have the right rail ads, right? That was a nice little feature of 2016. However, we do have the 10 blue link content, right? So if you're looking at the left-hand side of the screen, you're seeing those, those blue links here. And this is what it meant to be successful in organic, right? This is what it meant to be successful for SEO in 2016. I just have to either get on the first page, and even better, if I'm in the first position or second position or third position, right? But that's what it meant to be successful. As we've moved into 2018, you yourself, just being a creature of the internet, you are seeing changes happen. So let's just, let's acknowledge them and solidify them as far as what we're talking about here. So the first piece is, looking at the Google, at the local listings, right, at the map pack that we're looking here. And you can see that it is showcasing the top 3 locations based on the query for dealer near me. If you look down to the organic listings, right, below the map pack, what you see is Park City Ford at Dallas. You'll see Ford dealer near Dallas, which is actually Town East Ford, and then North Central Ford. Now, when you look at the map pack and you compare those results, you can see that only one of those results is transferring across both the local listings in the map pack and then also in the content listings. I'm going to show you some results as we get further into the presentation, that's going to show you that not only is there a density and a hyper-local aspect of the map pack that cannot be matched with the traditional content links, right, the 10 blue links, but I'm also going to show you this further fragmentation, right, of search. So you've right, we looked at 2016, that's what you had to worry about, that's how you wanted SEO. Now we're looking at 2018, you not only have to win, right? If we go back here, you've got to either win one of these 3 spots, or you've got to place well enough on the second page or the more locations there in order to still be visible to your customer base. Now, if you're taking a look at the right-hand side of my screen, this filter piece here, you'll see within 20 miles, sort by distance, open now. There's additional features or filters that I did not show you. This is rapidly moving in the direction of personalized search, right? So personalization of local search. And here we can see, you know, our friends in the hospitality industry, our friends in the restaurant industry. This is where the changes begin. This is where the most heavy development is applied, is in these industries. And if you're familiar with a term, right, it's a snack pack. This was a term that was sort of all the rage about 2 years ago, right, when local listings really came to the forefront, when maps listings really came to the forefront. And the reason that people are familiar with that term, snack pack, is because Google Maps and local listings originated from within the restaurant industry, right? Snack pack, restaurants, it makes sense, right? But we've moved far beyond that. So now you can see that this personalization aspect, you have all of these different attributes, right, so to speak, that you can filter on. In fact, some of these attributes are implicit, meaning that Google is pulling this based off of people's activity vis-a-vis the Google Maps app located on their phone, right? We are creatures of habit. We tend to do the same things over and over again, right? Google is very easily able to pull that information. But on the explicit side, right, if I'm a business, I can also add these attributes to a certain extent to my business listing, so that Google's able to put me in the right categories, right, or the right filters. And then finally, if we look to the right-hand side, this match for you, this is a fairly new feature that's coming out. It's called collections. Now, again, there's implicit and there's explicit signals here. The explicit signal would be telling Google, I want to see restaurants for barbecue, because I love eating barbecue, right? However, the implicit signal here might be that I tend to go to a lot of barbecue restaurants, right? You could insert barbecue restaurant for anything. However, what I'm trying to show you here is that Google is going to start personalizing the results, meaning that if you are a business today that is not taking full advantage of this, if you are not putting the right attributes into your Google My Business listing, if you're not spending a certain amount of time optimizing this stuff, you're just not even gonna show up, right? And that should be very concerning for any business out there. And if you're relying on content to do the heavy lifting for you, which it has in the past, I can tell you that that is changing as well, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And this really brings me into my next point, and I'm going to make this quick because I want to make sure that we talk about content and then also local SEO in depth. But the monetization of local search, it is coming, and it is coming fast and furious, right? So look at this, Max's Cold Oven Pizza, right? What do you know? There's a reserve a table. For this hotel downtown here in Atlanta, there is a book a room. And then for Valley High Toyota, we recently saw this, where Groupon is now dropping ads inside your Google My Business, right, for service, for oil change in this particular instance. It could be anything, right? But the reason that I'm showing you this example is that you and I both know that Google would monetize hugs from our mothers if it could, right? Given enough time to get out in front of that interaction, it will. So start thinking about this stuff through the lens of it's not a trend that's going to go away. It's not something that's going to slow down. In fact, this is probably going to become the default state moving forward at some point. And, or I should say predominant, right? I should say predominant, not default. And this slide here really quick, what I want to show you is that feature-rich development is all the rage with Google My Business, right? We know that Google is putting quite a bit of resource development behind GMB. If you're following this kind of stuff, right, you know that there's almost a new announcement every week. So I've chosen here hotels and restaurants, right, because they're obviously at the forefront of anything Google's going to do with GMB. But now they're doing hotel check-ins and checkout times, right? They're doing joint wait lists for restaurants. They're also letting online retailers upload product data. If you're looking at your Google My Business, right, you've probably seen that there's a products tab now. It's in beta. It won't always be in beta though.
And before we move into content SEO, just one thing to think about, as Chris said, it won't always be in beta. So the things that are going to start happening for automotive dealers are the things that are already happening upstream with hotels, with restaurants, all of the GMB features that seem kind of gee whiz, or even just natural, right? When you're sitting there going, oh, I need to reserve a table with a restaurant, are going to move very, very quickly downstream to automotive. Being able to reserve a fixed ops or a service appointment through GMB is already starting to happen. It's actually reserved with Google is in alpha and beta with some dealers today. So the things that you think about when someone comes to your website and they're moving to your service scheduler, maybe it's a bit slow, maybe it doesn't load correctly on mobile, maybe you lose sight of that customer as they move from your website into another vendor's application. All of that stuff that you take for granted today and you spend all that time optimizing around your website is going to move upstream, right? Upstream to your Google My Business listing. And why is that going to happen? Because it's fast, it's consistent. That means every dealership that a customer has an opportunity to deal with, if they offer that feature and you do not, you will be left out, unfortunately, in consideration. So the reason we talk about these things today is we want you to be prepared, right? Know that this is already happening. We're involved in it with many of our customers today that we've launched on our local product. But we see these features coming. We see it in other spaces. We know it's going to happen in automotive. So just think, I mean, it could be 6 months from now. It could be a year from now. It could be, we're not sure. We just know that these types of things will happen. If someone knows, Google for sure knows that I'm in the market for a heavy duty work truck, perhaps all of my local listings then start to customize themselves implicitly, right? Based on my search behavior, my paid search behavior at that, of what I'm looking for. And then all of a sudden I see a Chevy dealer, a Ford dealer, right? A Ram dealer. I see all of these things customized to what I'm already looking for because Google picks up my intent, maybe based on what I visited or what I'm searching for. And again, if you're not ready, if you're not customizing and optimizing your local listings, then your competitors who are in market and are thinking about those kind of things will be showing up in those top 3 positions, and you're going to miss out every time. So that's why, again, start switching your thought process from just a content SEO strategy to what can I do from content SEO and local SEO. So we're going to talk about a couple of things on the content side that we think are interesting and are happening. Strategies that you should, again, be talking about with your web provider, with your agency who you're already working with on content strategies. We challenge you to challenge them about these types of things.
Absolutely. And, we here at Pure Cars, right, we look at content, right, it has, the saying, right, if you've been paying attention in digital, the last 5-10 years, the saying goes, right, content is king, right? Context is queen. What I would say is that, going into the future, that stranglehold, right, that content has at this point of being, right, this driver of success isn't going to go away. It's just going to change, right? And it's just going to change in the sense that you probably aren't going to pull as many people going forward through your, right, 10 blue link kind of content, right? If you look in the Google search engine results page, scroll down to the bottom, right, those links are probably not going to drive as much traffic in the future as they have before. However, it is very important to understand how you can tie your content strategy with your local strategy. So we're going to give a couple of tips here because, look, as an industry professional, I frankly don't go to webinars that often, because a lot of it is, the clickbait title, they get you in, and then it's sort of a refresher right on what you already know. the big point with this webinar and any webinars we do in the future is that we really want to give people some top line ideas that we're thinking of because we're in this space every day, but frankly we don't execute on because it's not the business that we're focused in on. But that doesn't mean we can't provide you value. So let's take a step back really quick when we talk about content, right? There's obviously the audience and the persona and the segmentation components, right? That all work from the the content component, right? Identifying the audience. But it's also very important to break down the types of queries that you are serving for your user. So the first two that I have, they are not the problem child, so to speak, right? These are the type of queries that your automotive dealership website does very well today. So navigational search queries, right? I'm looking for Nally Ford in Atlanta. I could not be clearer with my intent there, right? I'm looking for a particular business website or a web page. In this instance, I'm looking for a particular company. Shout out to Nally Ford Atlanta, by the way. Transactional search queries, right? Ford F-150 trucks for sale. So obviously I'm coming into this with an intent of completing a transaction. Inventory, right? Automotive sites do great job at that. Now, where is an area for opportunity? If I were going to spend $1 right now in content, I would spend $1 on informational search query type content. So what is the towing capacity, right, of a Ford 2019 Ford F-150, right? I'm looking for answers to assist me on my journey, right? I'm not looking for the end result. And frankly, I'm not looking to go to a website and peel through 5 or 6 different pages to find the information I want, right? Think convenience. Look at the Ubers of the world, right? Look at the Amazons of the world. Information that is frictionless in nature, is easy to find. That's who's going to win. So start challenging, like Don was saying, challenging your content creators, challenging your web providers, saying, how are you responding to this change in the market, right? How are you surfacing me in what these are called answer box, right? Or rich results, or one answers, or zero position, right? And if you don't have a strategy for that, that should give you pause. That should make you think to yourself, is this the best partner for me if they're not talking about this, right? Again, this is pure cars talking about things that frankly, they're not what we do day in and day out. However, somebody should be talking to you about this. Things like prescriptive content, right? So content in the sense that it is purpose built to do a certain thing. In this case, I am targeting someone who is interested in not only the F-150, but they are specifically interested in the tow capacity, right? And I can tell you, right, and I own an F-150, I can tell you that when I did my search for truck, right, that I want to buy, a lot of it came down to towing capacity. And that could be right because I own a vintage camper and I love camping, things like that. But it was a touchstone that did not require me to go to the website because I didn't want to have to go to a website to get this information. But what I want to draw your attention to is how we did this. How did we get this result to show up? And it's actually quite easy. I mean, I don't want to devalue it, but it's actually quite easy. And what you do is you have to think through the linear lens, right, of if I am in a shopping journey, what are the questions, right, that are going to predate and postdate anything that has to do with towing? So this is an easy one, right? How much can the truck tow? Granted, awesome, cool story. However, I probably want to know more about the engine. Is it even capable of doing these things, right? It has eco in it. Does that mean that it's actually going to be a good, strong pusher like a diesel truck? It is. I mean, we know this. But then also look down line. What types of engines are available for the different trim models, right? Because those are going to have different attributes or different engine sizes, right? Different torque, things that are very important to anybody who is looking at the towing capacity. And the last point here is I'd like to point out to you is go read the answer box, the answer box patent that Google filed. Go look at SEO by the Sea. They had a wonderful write-up on this where they talk about how do you position yourself for success with rich results. Well, the first thing is, right, is you do just what I said. You think of you plan it out linearly, right, from a from a journey, right? I start with this question, I'm going to end up with this question. We don't know all the variants, However, we can probably put a good guess in there. Second thing though is I want to put in what are called halo elements. So you can have several different types of rich results, right, within Google. There's a paragraph style, right, and that's what you're seeing on the right-hand side here on the Kenny Ross Ford South example we've given. You could have a table, which if you look on the left-hand side, you see what engines are available for the 2019 F-150, right? That's table style. And then also I have bullet point style. And the goal here is that I am giving Google several different questions in different formats to show me, right? That's how you position yourself for success. Go read the patent. It's a lot of, a lot of technical stuff. But what I want to leave everybody with is that what we're doing here at Pure Cars is we're listening to Google. That's really what we're doing. We're listening to Google. They're telling us how to win. And if people are not talking to you about this type of stuff, you should start asking more questions.
Right. One of the things to be aware of is you look at the right side of the page is we've had plenty of people ask us, well, wait, why would I even build question and answer responses? Isn't tier one or the OEM going to win, right? Isn't their site optimized to answer that question nationally? And the thing about searches that we've hit on is nearly every search you make on the web right now is local based. It's location based. There's a really good reason why Kenny Ross Ford is showing up there on the right hand side. That wasn't a search from Atlanta, Georgia. That's an in-market search in the Pittsburgh area. So when I'm looking for answers about towing capacity, I'm not pulling up the Ford.com site, but because Kenny Ross Ford South took the opportunity to create question and answer based content for their site, Google immediately kicks off an indexing bot that says, look, there's new content here, and it answers the question that this local searcher is asking. Now, if the Kenny Ross Ford South content didn't exist, then it might go find a national answer. But again, this is how you win, guys. This is not any longer about 10 blue links. It's about highlighting the content on your site that shoppers are looking for, right? You have the chance to beat out 10 blue links and just by what you see right there, take over significant portions of the search results page just because you're structuring your website correctly. So those are, again, the things we want you to think about is challenging your website provider, challenging agencies that you're working with to create this compelling content that answers questions that shoppers have. Because in the consideration path, further up the funnel, you still have a chance to win every single time. And this is quote unquote free. Yeah, you have to pay to have the content created, of course, but you're not necessarily doing paid advertising, but you're showing up organically in a way that will last. Once you achieve this rank, you'll last month after month after month once you show up in this type of search.
And again, what Don and I wanted to do when we were looking at putting this webinar together was to provide real value, right? So here is an idea that Don and I have been talking about, right? But again, Pure Cars doesn't build content, so we want to give this out, to the community. Well, it's more of a question I'm going to make here is who made the rule that in Google My Business, in the main website URL, that I have to put my homepage there? Let's actually reject that thought for a moment. Let's say, what happens if I put like an areas we served page there, right? That might actually allow us to start to rank in different cities, in different neighborhoods, and even at the cross street level, right? You can optimize for that level of local results if you're putting this together, right? Taking content and attaching it with your local strategy. This is how you can win, right? In this example here I'm using, this is a tool, right, that shows how is this particular dealership ranking, and the term here is dealer, right, near me. How is this particular dealer ranking throughout, right, this larger Detroit, kind of suburb area, right? And as you can see, anything that's 1 or 2 or 3, that's going to be listings that are showing up in the map pack, right, number 1 through 3. If you are a 4 and below, well, 4 to 20, you're going to be showing up on the more locations page, right? So when you see that map pack, you click on the show more locations, that's going to open it up to 20 different locations, right? If you are if you are not on, right, the top 3 results, you are going to lose a significant share of both impressions and clicks. What we would say also is, let me just go back to this slide, is that if you can move from a 4 or a 5, right, or a 6 or a 7, if you can move you up to a 3, it will look as though like a bomb went off, right? You will have an increase that you have never imagined in your life of impressions and clicks, because this is how shoppers are shopping right now, right? This is, like Don said, Don hit it right on the head. Every SERP, every search engine result page is local in nature. So if you're number 4 and number 5, you are not winning that battle. We need to get you to 3, we need to get you to 2, we need to get you to 1, because you're just missing out on a lot of search.
So that's the localized optimization strategy, right? If you can hit those first 3 positions, then you are guaranteeing yourself increases in phone calls, increases in organic traffic, frankly, increases in showroom visits. And this is where we just want to give you the caution, right? This is, as folks in the industry, we all know this. When we sit down and you're saying, well, if I spend another dollar in paid search or in social or any of these strategies, or if I put another $3,500 towards content or $1,000 towards local search, what am I going to get? Well, when you optimize for local listings, you're going to get more shoppers. And the question is, are you ready, right? Have you taken care of your BDC processes? Have you taken care of your in-house processes? Because if you get more phone calls, are you ready for them? If you get more showroom visits, are you ready for them? Don't forget about your own internal process optimization, because we can send you new traffic all day long, but if you don't increase your close rate, then you're not going to be ready for those shoppers who are actively looking for your business. That's really what you're positioning yourself for success, is to show up for all the people that really want to know, really want to transact with you, right? Whether that's a fixed ops opportunity or buying a new car. This is what you're doing. You're basically turning the faucet on, and you need to be ready to drink. So don't forget, this isn't just about optimizing on the internet. It's about optimizing your BDC as well.
Yep. So we'll run through these content SEO takeaways real quick, right? I'm not going to read them word for word. You all are smart enough to read here, but fragmentation and disruption, right, continues. And I didn't hit on the fragmentation component, but I will really quickly here. Fragmentation of devices, right? Fragmentation of channels, fragmentation of time and space, right, as it relates to personalization. Think Google Maps, right, moved way beyond just directions and hours. I mean, they're also very, very aware of traffic, right? I'm talking about car traffic on the highway, right? And if they know that level of detail, there's certainly a lot more that they know about you in that regard. And then any sort of content strategy needs to be paired with local SEO, right? They are not disparate efforts. You are working towards the same goal. And anybody that is out in that space right now, whether it's a web provider or if it's a third-party vendor, they need to be talking about this stuff, and not in the sense like we're going to just check the box, because we're going to show you guys here in a second that we are not checking the box when it comes to GMV. It requires actually the same level of effort and time that you dedicate towards content right now. You need to be taking that same approach with your local SEO.
We have one last story for content, and just show you how important understanding kind of the gold mine that is your website, right? It is the center of an effective marketing strategy. And this is, again, why we ask you to challenge your web provider, challenge your agencies on the content side to catch up to how quickly things are changing on the SERP, right? So all of those answer box results, there was an example in the restaurant industry where you had, you're searching for fish tacos as an example, and you have a local business who maybe has a menu on their site, but it hasn't been indexed properly. The schematic markup hasn't been applied properly to it. So Google doesn't even know that business has fish tacos. Maybe they're getting 25 visitors in a week, as an example, to those menu pages. When you apply proper schema and markup, and this is the same for your auto website as well, when you apply proper menu schema, then that took that from 25 visitors to 250 visitors. Another point to remember on the content side, you may have heard from various providers, some rather large, that if you aren't spending a certain amount a month, then you aren't doing the right thing in content SEO. And or, man, if you're not hearing that it's going to take you 3 months to get results from a content SEO strategy, then someone's lying to you. That example of applying schema to the menu, it took Google 2 hours to index that schema and for that business to see those results. So we see the same thing on the local SEO side. We can see results in a matter of days, not months. So the rules are changing, guys, and the rules around content SEO are changing, and the rules around local SEO are changing. They're changing really, really quickly. So again, you may be dealing with a provider, a vendor who tells you one thing, but just challenge them, right? Challenge them to catch up, because Google is changing so quickly that if they aren't catching up, then you're going to have a competitor in market who bypasses you very, very quickly in these areas.
Yep. So we're going to jump into local SEO. This is really like I said, one of the emerging areas for Google, right, where they're just putting a ton of time and resources in. But there's also some other stuff that's going on below the surface that's probably not being surfaced to you. So, here may be, and I apologize if this is the first time you're seeing this, but look at the bottom row here. Look at mobile, right? If you're looking on the left-hand side, Feb 2016, go over to the no clicks column, right? So in February 2016, it was at 41%. And we fast forward 2 years, right, to February 2018. Now, keep in mind, right, this is literally a year ago this data set was valid. So it probably has increased since then, right? That's a pretty safe assumption. And we've gone from no clicks of 41% in Feb 2016 to 61% of mobile clicks, traffic resulting in no click, right? That's also called a zero-click search, right? Here's just another way of showing the data. You see the breakdown between mobile and desktop, right? Obviously, desktop is lagging, right, far behind. However, mobile, that should give you more than just pause, right? That should be eye-opening, right? 61% of mobile searches here in the US do not result in a click to a website. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, where did the clicks go, right? I mean, they just didn't like up and disappear in the wind. Well, they sort of did. They did in the sense that 2 years ago, I needed to go to your website to find all of these things, right? The hours, the directions, the chatbot, right? The phone call. Gosh, even looking for things like inventory. And then it's the next feature and another feature and even more features that are coming down the line. And you have to stop and think at this point, wait, what is my website doing? And that's what we're pushing right now, is that it's not that your website's going to go away, but the functionality of how your website is utilized today by the average user is going to change, right? I just named 4 or 5 different clicks that you've lost out on. In this time next year, I would not be surprised if there's even more clicks that you've lost. And the way that you're going to be successful is doubling down on the brand, right? Investing in yourself, surfacing the information that you want to surface to the users, and playing in that space, not just losing out by default because you didn't even show up, right? You didn't have these features available to get the 0 positions, right? Or to show up really well in local search. And then fixed ops, right? We're not going to talk too much about this, but today on your website, you probably have one page, right? One page that talks about oil change. Now let's just play the game of percentages for a minute. When Google looks at your business, well, 99% of your pages on your site are geared towards selling cars. And that's great. That's exactly what you do, right? You sell cars. But it's very hard for Google to parse out and look at your business and say, wait, you don't just sell cars, you also do oil changes and service, and you have tires and you have a parts department, right? So we have to educate Google. We have to tell them that we do these things. So this is, part of the seat product. I don't want to go down and sell this, but just think about the opportunity that you're missing with the independents, right? They are eating your lunch right now. And it is partly because there is just one page on the site that talks about oil change, right? I mean, gosh, let's be honest. There might be one page that talks about service, and it may only be a service scheduler, right? This isn't meant to like poo-poo. It's meant to help understand the opportunity that we're potentially missing. And this is another misnomer that I see often in the local space, right? People will tell you proximity is the only signal, right? I'm not going to use like, I'm not going to go into, you know, fancy sort of tri-modal algorithm and a three-legged stool of how Google really determines who ranks, you know, in high positions within local listings or maps. But what I will say is that proximity is a major signal, but it's not the only signal. And in fact, you should be working with a partner in the local space that can tell you how do we skew, right? How do we skew the other two legs of that stool so that we can have these types of results where we go from before, right, on the periphery, you see the 4s and the 5s, and even, you know, as we move in closer to Pasadena here, right, I'm showing 2s and 3s. I'm not even showing any 1s. And then boom, I mean, this is literally a couple weeks later, like Don said, right? We're not saying to you it's going to take 4 months to see change. In fact, you know, change can happen actually very quickly with Google My Business. And this is a, what I'm about to tell you is not publicized to a high degree. And it's the fact that there are 2 Google bots. There's the Google bot that you're all familiar with or you've heard in the past, right? That goes and crawls your content. But there's also a local bot, right? There's a Google specific bot for just GMB. And how do we know this? Well, if you update the main website URL inside Google My Business with any link, right? You can then go and you can have your Google Analytics open and you can see that Google bot will come in within 3 minutes of updating that page, and it will come and crawl that page in addition to every single other page that is connected to that page, right? So what we're able to see is differences in ranking within minutes. And that's not even to mention, you know, some of the stuff that Bright Local is doing right now. They're doing some great webinars on eliminating spam in the map pack. I mean, that's a whole other thing, right? Finding businesses that are either just straight up spammy, or they no longer exist, or they were never even there in the first place because, you know, some marketing agency was ahead of the curve a couple of years ago and set them up with a bunch of locations, but when you go look at them on maps, right, they're in the middle of the woods. It doesn't make any sense. If you shut that stuff down, it's also like eliminating noise, right? It's clearing the brush, as Don would say. So all I'm saying here is that it requires a partner who is in tune with this stuff. And right now, we just don't see a lot of people in the automotive space talking about this at the degree that we are. And one of the final pieces I want to talk about the differences between content and local SEO, right, or map pack or local pack SEO, is the hyper-local and density aspects. So if I'm looking at content, right, and I'm doing a search, and I'm saying car dealerships near me, right, I'm going to see things like cars.com, KBB, Auto Trader, oh, Auto Trader again, there's the OEM, there's Enterprise Car Sales, there's CarMax, right? I just looked at, what is that, 6, 7 results down the page, traditional blue link content, SEO, and there is not a car dealership to be found. And then if I go look at the local pack, right, it's a totally different story. I see auto sales number 1, 5-star auto sales, right? Hepperly, these, you can see there's drastic differences here. And the difference is that when I am in a mode of searching, right, the content results only have so much flexibility, right? The content results are probably not going to zero in on downtown Atlanta, right, or midtown where I'm calling from right now. The local pack will. The local pack has that level of density. In fact, if I were to do a search like best, or you know, so if I were to do a search around quality, right, as the modifier, or if I were to do a search around affordability as the modifier, right, price is the concern there. So I might say least, you know, or most inexpensive car dealer near me, right? Or I'll just throw the word out. I hate the C word, but like cheapest cars near me, right? That's an affordability play. Those results are going to be drastically different than just the Ford dealer near me, right? Ford dealer near me, what does that tell Google? It tells that distance is the concern. How about if I went with best as the modifier, right? Best is a totally different intent there. Best is looking at a wider net, right? It's pulling the best top dealerships in an area. And you're going to see some change, right, when you're going from like a rural area versus maybe like an area like Atlanta or Knoxville, right? There are going to be differences in the density aspect of this, But again, this is just about educating you that content does not have the density or the flexibility aspects of it that local pack does. And the checklist here, right? These are just a couple of ones. Claim your GMB listing, right? If you haven't already, get a verification postcard out. Get that location and contact information correct. It is a huge piece in the local citation space to have your name, your address, and your phone number, and especially your hours up to date across the internet. There are about 100 websites, right? You've seen this through Yext or Moz Local or any other partner out there. They will update that information on the 100+ websites, right, that nobody visits, but are great, signals of information consistency to the search engines. Do your schematic markup, right? You should be doing things like organizational or car dealer or doing product right on your site. That's how you get set up for surfacing that information to users. And then setting up the proper tracking, right? I'm not going to go too much into this, but today it is a little strange that Google does not reveal the exact amount of traffic that is going from GMB into your website. If you had those UTMs set up in GMB, you would probably start to notice that 50 to 60 to 70% of your organic traffic in Google Analytics is actually coming through GMB. It is not coming through your content links, right? So that's a little bit of a phase change we've seen. And then yes, putting in landing pages, right? Taking maybe the local SEO approach that we talked about, right? Areas served. It could also be if you are a used car dealership, right? And you want to make sure that Google knows you're a local car dealership, then maybe the landing page should be all about used cars and not just the home page, right? Which is a lot of information.
So then to kind of close it out here for you on the importance of local SEO and local SEO signals. We said it at the top of the hour, but you think about where you're investing your dollars at. It could be that $3,500 on content, right? But think about what is actually driving, as we said at the top of the hour, the biggest opportunities for increases in phone calls, leads, traffic, organic traffic to your website, and ultimately those showroom visits. These are percentages that came out just last year about updates to the Google algorithm and what is driving your appearance in local listings, right? So this is, where do you focus all your effort on local optimization? GMB, as we said, one of the biggest ones. Reputation, right? We all know this. You're probably already doing work with a reputation vendor today. If you aren't, listen, reviews, businesses and competitors in market who have, say, a 4-star or higher ranking, if you're struggling there at 2.5, maybe 3 stars, they're going to show up higher than you almost always, unless you have, hundreds and hundreds of reviews and maybe they're down lower at like 25 or 50. But reviews play a huge component. Reputation is critical. We're not saying that we're in the reputation game, but we do acknowledge, and you should be aware as well. If you're not actively managing your reputation, actively responding to reviews, you're missing out. Google will penalize you if you're not managing your reputation successfully. So we highly encourage you to make sure that you're working with someone in that space and you have an active effort around not just, hey, I came in to buy a car and it was a great experience, but on the service side as well. Make sure that you're getting those positive reviews for both the fixed ops side, because that's a huge opportunity against independents in the area. You see citations and you see shopper engagement. So all that answer box activity, right, where we were showing examples on the page where questions and answers were brought up to the search results page. When shoppers interact with those results, you get huge ranking boosts. When someone clicks on GMB and then comes to your site and interacts with, say, a positive content strategy that you've rolled out, Google identifies that as positive shopper engagement, and you're going to increase rank there. So those strategies alone right now are impacting 61%, right, of how you rank. And what we've seen so far is most of our customers, and this is just endemic to the industry right now, are spending the least amount of time in this area. And where they spend the most is links, on-page signals, right? This is the traditional content SEO strategy. That's still driving 30% of your overall rank, but it's where you're spending the vast majority of your time and budget. And we think you need to start thinking about how can I flip that? And then just look at the bottom, right? Rolling out lots and lots of landing pages, rolling out your social strategy. We hear over and over again, well, I need blog posts, I need, social posting content. Google, frankly, doesn't care that much about that strategy. It is thinking about the thing that it owns, and that is GMB. It's looking at those reviews that people are leaving through Google, right? That's where all the focus is. And again, if you're not applying the same amount of time and care and frankly budget to those areas, then you're missing out on the easiest thing you can do today to drive phone calls, leads, showroom visits.
So the takeaways here, obviously is that, there are, more opportunities available today than there have been previously. There is a better hyper local discovery capability via the local pack map pack, right, versus traditional content SEO. And then, brand quality, affordability based search terms, right, with or without a geo modifier are going to return different results. So think about this from a strategic or tactical manner, right? If my competitor has a big marketing budget and I just can't win on brand, right, where else can I come in? Well, I could possibly come in on the affordability play, or I could come in on the best of play, right? That's just the first two ways that I would think about approaching it. And then local pack, right? It's not going away. It's going to continue to evolve. One of the things I did not talk about when it comes to transaction piece, right, is that Google will absolutely at some point, as the industry has the capability, right, to sell a car online. I know that that's something that everybody's talking about right now, right? It absolutely will happen at some point. I don't know if you're going to be able to buy a car at a GMB, but you'll certainly be able to start the process. And then earning organic traffic, it's getting harder. In fact, it's never been harder than right now, because Google, for the first time in its history, is sending less outbound traffic, right? So that goes to the point that Don and I have both been making, which is that Google is keeping more and more of that traffic in on itself. It's not necessarily interested in sending it to your website. However, there is never a better time than right now to make your website the center of your marketing campaigns. This allows you to invest in yourself. It allows you to surface the information, right, that Google is already surfacing it, but you control it. And it doesn't matter as much if people are coming to the website as that you are capitalizing on the opportunities to get in front of people. Because if they come through your website, right, and they fill out a form, or if they go to your GMB and they connect with somebody via chat, or they make a phone call, or they show up in your showroom, I would rather have the latter three than the first form fill out on your website.
So taking it from the top again, guys, let's think about where we've challenged you. Have the conversation, right? When you leave here are the things you need to ask your current providers about. What are you doing for me today in local SEO, right? When it comes to optimizing my Google My Business listing, what have you done? And think about that even internally. What's your strategy? Because if you're thinking about, oh, I've already got a Yext, or I've already claimed my GMB, you may be missing out. We've done optimizations with our customers, and all of the customers that we've worked with so far have seen massive increases in phone calls, in organic traffic to their website from Google My Business optimization. You oftentimes think, oh yeah, I've done everything I can, but when we engage with customers and we work with them on local optimization, we oftentimes move them from those 4 and 5 positions to 1 through 3. And it's like a hockey stick, right? You see the phone calls start to increase. You see organic traffic start to increase. So challenge them, right? If your current providers don't have an optimization strategy for GMB, then you're missing out on shoppers. So that's number one. Number two, on the content side, if someone, if you're paying $1,500 a month, you're paying $2,000, $3,500 a month for a content strategy, and you're not getting the benefit of things like question and answer content on every page, or someone isn't putting the proper schema on each of your pages to highlight your inventory so that Google picks it up, then you're missing out, right? You still have someone rolling out a strategy that was effective 3 years ago, but isn't effective today for how quickly Google is changing the rules. So that's what we ask you to take a challenge back. If you have any problems, questions, or you get kind of blank stares, feel free to reach out. And I think we only have a few minutes left, but we'll open it up to see if there are any questions. If not, we'll bid you adieu, but we'll wait for about 30 seconds to see if we have any questions rolling. So we had a question come out. We'll absolutely make sure that any attendees have access to the deck. We should have as well we'll have a hosted version of this webinar so that you can come back and watch it again. If you have any questions, we'll make sure that there's contact info out there so that you can either reach out to Chris or myself. And if you want to dive in deeper, we're happy to pick up the phone and have a conversation about what your web provider can do to help you out in these areas. We'll give a couple seconds for any more questions. So a question come up of how are SEO packages different between various web providers? Yeah, it's a great question. For the vast majority of web providers that are out there, again, this is just our experience in working with pretty much most web providers in the industry. It's all content-based, right? Generally, what you see is on the low end, light optimization, maybe landing pages. Folks will say they do maybe some schematic markup. Very, very rarely will you have an existing package that does anything with local SEO. Most dealers that we've spoken to today say no one's talking to them about this. So on the content side, again, even if you're paying the most expensive content packages, $3,500 and above, are probably still missing out on question and answer content or even local service area landing pages, etc. Yeah. Their question came through about checklists, right? So we had the checklist about kind of the local SEO side, but we can certainly provide as a follow-up questions you can ask your web provider just to make sure, or the agencies that you're working with, just so you have the right questions to ask and really the type of answers that you should be receiving. So kind of as a supplement to this, we'll make sure that we put that out there for all web attendees. And with that, we've got 2 minutes left. We'll do one last call for questions. Cool. All right, that'll be it. So thanks everybody, and appreciate it. Have a great day, and catch you later.